What's up YouTube community, Bernd here, welcome back to another video lesson. This week we finally tackled the much requested topic of economy picking. You guys wrote me a lot of requests for this technique after I brought it up in the 4 techniques you need to play fast video a couple of months ago. There we only discussed one economy picking lick and I quickly compared it to alternate picking. So there is still a lot to talk about, and right now I'd like to focus on where to get started with this technique. For this week's practical example, I prepared a really cool pentatonic 2-note per string lick that is descending chromatically, and it serves as a pretty good introduction to economy picking since it's pretty hard to perform very fast with alternate picking. So economy picking really helps with licks like that, and the 2-note per string approach is where we get started with this video. Some players see economy picking as a super fast technique that offers a lot of creative possibilities, but other players dismiss it as cheating and as a cheap trick. So let's see this picking style in detail in this week's practical example and decide for ourselves. So for this quick demonstration I was playing a basic pentatonic style lick that was descending chromatically. So the same lick repeated in different positions. We want to keep it simple this week for our left hand since we need all our brain power for the right one. You can find the tabs, guitar profiles and a practice backing track on my Patreon page, patreon.com/Bernd. I also made sure to write down even more economy picking exercises in the files for this lesson so that all my shred guitar community members get a head start into learning this technique. So head over to my Patreon page right now, get all the files and start practicing to the backing track that I uploaded. So for the first example I was playing downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, upstroke, and so on. And that can be quite challenging because I have to switch between 2 different strings, and that is quite difficult as soon as it gets a bit faster. It's still possible to play it around this tempo, especially with this kind of picking angle that we already discussed. For this lick, I want my pick to point away from the guitar like that, so I don't get stuck between the strings. If I would pick an angle like that, I'd be stuck right here between the B and G string, and I would have to jump over the string to perform the next downstroke and upstroke. So if you attempt to play this with alternate picking, go for this kind of angle, so your pick can escape from the strings after the upstroke. Not like that. Over exaggerated. But when I play it that fast, I can't really say that my right hand is relaxed. So to avoid all those string transitions with our right hand, somebody had the amazing idea to combine alternate picking with sweep picking. So for sweep picking we essentially have this kind of movement where we don't pick every single individual string. It's more like arpeggiating a chord. So when I play an arpeggio with sweep picking, it would sound something like that. So I would never be able to achieve that sound with alternate picking or only downstrokes. It would be just like playing a chord with individual picking strokes. So when we combine that concept with alternate picking for those 2-note per string phrases, we could play downstroke, upstroke, upstroke, downstroke, downstroke, upstroke, upstroke, downstroke, and so on. And for the upstrokes and downstrokes that are happening in a row, I want to stay in the sweep picking mindset. So I'm playing, and after this first upstroke, the second upstroke follows in a sweeping motion. So I don't pick them individually. I stay in this sweep picking mindset with my right hand. It's just one connected stroke that is gliding or sweeping across the strings. And the same goes for the downstrokes too, of course. So downstroke, upstroke, upstroke, and then downstroke. As you can see here, I'm also sweeping, I'm not playing individual downstrokes. It's just one movement, so. And once you speed it up, it starts to sound like that. So immediately you can see the biggest benefit from this technique. My right hand is very relaxed. When we compare it to alternate picking, my hand has to work much harder, and it's also difficult to perform the string transitions for me since I'm only playing 2 notes per string. I'm much more comfortable with 3 notes per string, as you might know. But one of the downsides and big challenges with economy picking for me personally is nailing the timing correctly. With alternate picking, it's a bit easier for me to really nail the timing in the studio because I'm in the mindset of downstroke, upstroke all the time, and can really focus on hitting the quarter notes that the click is counting for me. With economy picking, timing can be very confusing when you start out. Kinda seems counterintuitive when you play it slow. It's much easier with alternate picking, but as soon as you speed it up, the string transitions are much easier with the sweep picking aspect in there. So it really starts making sense as soon as you start speeding things up. Another misconception that I often hear is that you have to use legato techniques like hammer-ons and pull-offs when you want to play alternate picking licks with economy picking. But I hope I could clear that one up with the practical example for this week. As you see, every single note is picked. The downstrokes and upstrokes are simply placed in a different way. So if you've never worked with economy picking before and it sounds interesting for you and you want to learn it, just keep it small and pick one position of the exercise, playing C, D, E, G, for example, here in the A minor pentatonic scale box, and play downstroke, upstroke, upstroke, downstroke, downstroke, upstroke, upstroke, downstroke, and so on. And pay really close attention to not separating those 2 upstrokes. They are not played separately. They are completely connected. It's the same motion, just like when you're sweep picking. And that also goes for the downstrokes, of course. So for starters, you can just work on this phrase to get a feeling for the technique before you start with the repeating pattern. And as we said, timing is actually the hardest factor right here, so please start slow and focus on playing clean and tight. That's it for this week's small introduction to economy picking. Please let me know if this topic is interesting for you and if you'd like to see more lessons and more licks concerning that. I am by no means an expert when it comes to economy picking, but I find myself using this technique more and more over the years. So I really recommend checking it out. Please don't dismiss it as a cheap trick or anything like that. There are a lot of creative possibilities right here. Since you're distributing your up and down strokes differently, you might come up with some really cool licks that way. In the end, make sure to subscribe to join this community so you never miss a lesson video again. Leave a like if you enjoyed the lesson or if you learned something new. That always means a lot to me. Or a comment in case you have any questions about economy picking. I try to answer as many as I can. Remember to get all your lesson files for this week on Patreon if you're already a member. I will see you next week. All the best until then and have fun practicing.